Hello everyone, and welcome back to newearth.land, even though I can't even afford to keep that URL running anymore. Um, Such is the current state of my life. I think I'm having a midlife crisis, to be honest. Nothing really interests me anymore. I've taken a bit of a hiatus from the whole campaign because simply it wasn't gaining the traction I was hoping it would. Also, I got censored and I've just lost my motivation to try and um, do what I feel like I am ultimately here to do. And, like as much as I try to ignore it, I always just keep coming back to, well, I should be doing these videos, I should be doing this and that. Um, and that is my calling, I feel like, is to try and bring people together to make shelter, energy, food and water human rights so that, architecturally we can start to build these co-housing projects that liberate us from compulsory labour for survival. But for the time being, I'm actually embracing doing nothing. And whilst I've been doing that, I've been wondering, like what is a lot of this cause for the depression that we're experiencing? Like so many of us are, stress, anxiety. Of course, that's an understandable thing. As Krishnamurti said, it's no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And so, like, that's what I'm saying. Really, is like, depression is a humane response to an inhumane society. And so, like, so many of us have become these automatons running around in the Matrix, which actually I watched again last night. I've just sort of like become so numb to what's happening that they've just become cogs in a system. They're just hamsters on a wheel. They're just these sort of mechanisms just moving around from A to B on a daily basis, just going to work, going to school first and foremost and coming home. So we're getting prepared for this, aren't we? And then it's like work, home, work, home, work, home. I mean, I'm kind of working from home these days, which is both positive and negative. It's in some way it gets you out of the rat race, but still your freedom is conditional and relative to how much money is in your bank account. So you're not actually free at all. People call it sort of a digital nomad and like, oh, this is free, but it's not freedom. True freedom is unconditional. So the only way we can be truly free is if we have the basic things that we need for our survival, like provided for us. And it would have to be by ourselves, not by the government, because they're not going to do anything for us, as has been proven time and time again, year after year, elections after elections, and we keep falling for the same thing. Like by and large, of course, because I feel like if you're probably watching this video, maybe you found it because you're reaching now for a solution, or you're just trying to think of some way that we can get out of this agenda, which has been taking place for a long time. And they call it 2030, agenda 2030. People like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people, I mean, clearly they've got so much money, they could end poverty tomorrow, today, if they wanted. So clearly there's a sinister thing going on here. And they're sort of pitching themselves as these humanitarians, when of course, just like, the monarchy here in the UK, like all the money that's there could easily be used to implement a fast track solution to change and to the eradication of poverty and the alleviation of inequality. And so it's just a grave hypocrisy, really, isn't it? And so really, I'm now, anyway, just like, this is quite a random video, I suppose, but I'm currently doing house sitting because that's the only way that I can stay afloat. Like I say, I'm working sort of remotely, but it's nowhere near the hours that I was doing before. So the only way I can get by is like I signed up to a site called Trusted House Sitters. I'm just looking at these cats now, like running around with these crazy kittens for the last couple of weeks in Portsmouth. And so like I've reduced my outgoings, so therefore I can afford to actually reduce my incomings. And so in a sense, you have more freedom. But when your calling is to try and bring people together, to use social media more wisely, it's like, well, yeah, that's just what I'm doing for money. What I really need to be doing is these videos need to be getting out there into the world and just talking to people about this movement, because that's just the first port of call. We need to implement change, and that comes by thoughts, feelings and actions. A lot of the social media, a lot of the channels, a lot of the videos now, it's become very conversational. This is of course very helpful for many people to talk through their issues, but by and large, we're not really using yet social media, I feel, more wisely, as wisely as we could, to realize that we can simply replace the government. We don't need to overthrow it. We can simply replace them in the sense that, well, what should they be providing us back in return of our income tax? The money that we're being forced into handing over on a monthly basis. What if instead of that, all those thousands of pounds that we're giving them on a yearly basis, and which they get sort of squandered in vanity projects, black projects, what if we just instead, in parallel with that, started running crowdfunding campaigns? Say £1, £2, however much you'd want to give, like on a monthly basis, or even just one sort of time donation, which you can check out at newf.land, because like I say, I don't even have that URL anymore, because I can't even afford to keep the website running. I'll put the URL, the temporary Wix sort of URL below. But the point is that we can easily be the people and the ones that we've been waiting for, that we can run the crowdfunding. They're not going to offer the transparency, you see, that we can offer ourselves. So crowdsourcing offers us a sort of 21st century taxation model, in the sense that we can have it be truly democratic, truly transparent, and truly optional. And those three things just aren't simply in place with the current model that we have, which they call democracy, and clearly it's anything but, really. It's a two-party state, well, which is ultimately just a one-party state, as I'm sure you're watching this video, you're very well aware of at this point. Two sides of the same coin, two wings of the same bird, all of those kind of analogies. And yeah, so really, like, depression is understandable if you are on an awakening journey, if you're on a soul journey, and if you're starting to realize your humanity, realize that your being, which is universal, like all of these things, like become to make more sense when you start to sort of awaken from this trance, this hypnosis that we've been under, with sport, mass entertainment, comedy, show. Everything's just a play, everything's just a performance. It's like we want to be having real conversations. And so it'd be great actually to start opening up this channel for a more conversational aspect to it, to try and draw more people in, so that we can take the actions and be more proactive. So it doesn't just stay a conversation. So right now you're watching this video, in an hour perhaps you'll be watching another video, or you'll be out and about the supermarket. And so we're getting caught in that regard because we're not organizing ourselves. And Martin Luther King said, those who love peace must learn to organize themselves as effectively as those who love war. So this is the first video I've made in a long time. Hopefully I can try and make them more frequently now and just get this moving. If you're watching this because you've been subscribed, thanks, and also apologies because I've just haven't done any videos for a year or so, maybe even more. I can't even remember now. But it's simply I've been having a midlife crisis. I've got nothing going on in my life at the moment. It's just a sort of dark night of the soul, as they say, which is just a sort of prolonged period of kind of depression, meaninglessness, and just like when we think of meaning, typically we have to establish that for ourselves. There is no built-in meaning. And so it's a question that we only really ask ourselves when we lose that sense of meaning. And of course, the purpose and the meaning of life is to live. So we've got to find a way to truly live and not simply survive and thrive and not just sort of get by, And so we can do that, and it's very easy for us to achieve anything that we want to achieve if we're simply willing to come together. And that's really what I suppose this channel's all about. So if you'd like to do that, then do follow along at whatever URL I've got going on at the moment. You can see it in the description below. And yeah, stick around. We'll be talking about spirituality. That'll be a general theme, because that's, I feel like most people who will be interested in this type of content will be those who are on the path, so to speak. But also just conversational daily life chats about reality, like what are we actually experiencing here? What are your experiences so far in this life? Your daily trials and tribulations, how you're paying the bills, all that kind of stuff. I find people will probably find that quite interesting, because so much of this space has become fake, where people are presenting things and it's like you never really get to see people for who they are. We're becoming so increasingly atomized and so isolated that I feel like at this time it would be very useful for us to start having real conversations. So perhaps you even want to have a chat, in which case we could do that on YouTube some point. And I hope to connect with you soon. Do check out the new earth.land site, shelter, energy, food, water, those things should be human rights. I'll leave it there, and I will speak to you super soon.